All right, here we are. We're close. Appreciate everybody being here tonight. And the lady of the hour, one of them who is attending tonight, is mayoral candidate Victoria Provenza. And we thank her for being here for the second time in 5 weeks. Victoria, it's yours.
Well, hello. How is everyone tonight? Good. Cold? I know, I did not order this weather. We need Chamber of Commerce weather 365 days a year in Shreveport. I apologize for being late. I know it was extremely important for me to be here, but it was also important for me to be at the budget meeting down at City Hall. So, like getting to watch all the excitement that lies ahead for either myself or Ms. Tyler. I sat through a, turn all the numbers budget meeting and everybody begging for their piece and city council going over every line item and questioning why they needed it. So needless to say, I'm really happy to be here. As you know of the candidates, I am a strong supporter for the intercity connector for I-49. I demonstrated that support at our previous forum. I also demonstrated it by being the only representative on the ballot that was at the I-49 opening, albeit I was cheering for LSU. I was hoping that that boot would come across that border, but it didn't, but that's okay. We still have the freeway up there, and if I'm elected, we will definitely have the freeway through the city. It is critical because, as most of you know, I'm a geologist that specializes in geographic information systems. We rely heavily on transportation, and my economic development platform has 3 tenets: for water resources, human resources, and transportation. The transportation hub is being able to connect the port directly with all of our distribution outlets. I-49 through the city is a significant portion of our economic development plan. I was able to talk to Secretary Kennedy, and actually Anne Marie Arpino, who has been one of the supporters with Pat in all the forums. I said, Anne Marie, she would say that they had the money ready and they were just waiting for her to come pick that money up. And so I said, Anne Marie, this is something that you and all of the people have been working on so hard. I am not an ego-driven candidate, and I promise you that I will give you that truck so you can go down there and get the money. Well, I talked to Secretary Kennedy. The money is not completely available. However, I'm getting ready to announce in about 2 weeks a complete redevelopment plan for Ledbetter Heights in Allendale. It's a neighborhood that's very, very close to my heart. I see TJ Mandina, who grew up down the street from my mother on Buena Vista, and my father on Allen. And so revitalization of the Allendale-Ledbetter Heights area is extremely important to me. It's something that's so close to our city, and we need to shine a light on it as being one of the great places. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be based all around music, and I have around 40 musicians and music industry professionals that are backing me on this plan, and it's actually their plan. What I've been able to do is take a lot of the strings of development that have been going on for so long in the city that have not had their voices raised, and pull all that together and give them a platform to present it on. So we'll be doing that in about 2 weeks, and that's very, very exciting. So, having said that, I do not really do well on speeches, just where I get up here and talk. And I think it's extremely important for mayors and candidates to be engaged with their public. So I'm just going to open the floor up to questions. I am not afraid. I have not changed my stripes anywhere on this campaign. You can look from the very beginning of my announcement speech, where I announced on July 6th at Mandina's, down on the corner of Common and Common and Ford, and so I have stayed consistent and true. My message has stayed consistent and true from the very beginning, and I think you'll find that here tonight. If I say something that you don't like, you have another option on the ballot, and that's what a democracy is. So I have no fear in answering any questions. I will not, and I've said that from the beginning, I am a moderate candidate. I'm not going to appeal to the far, far right, nor will I appeal to the far, far left. One of the things by being a no-party candidate is I feel that I can represent the city always at the city's best interest. By not being part of a political faction of one party, I feel like I don't always have to represent Senator Tarver's position or always represent Mayor Glover's position. If it happens to be in the best interest of the city, I can support it. I don't have those allegiances. So I think that's what differentiates me as a candidate, and I hope that you too will take time to look at our campaign. And if you have any questions, the floor is open. Let's go for it.
But
Come on, there's got to be one. Mr. Robinson.
For the past decade,
Yes.
Shreveport and growth, success of schools, acquisition of new businesses has actually shrunk. What would you do to change that?
That's an excellent question. Thank you so much. One of the biggest issues Shreveport has is we have constantly been facing what I call a very insular economy. What we continually do that is our biggest mistake is continue to stir the pot of only the money that we have, which is not a lot of money. But it serves a certain small group of people very well because that money shuffles out, they grab it, and it takes out the midline of our economy, which is manufacturing and industry. So I have a two-pronged approach. One is we have to return industry and manufacturing back to Shreveport. We're very geographically blessed in that we have water resources, cheap electricity via clean electricity with the natural gas in the Haynesville Shale here, and a huge human resources component that's ready to work. If you look at our numbers statistically, we have between a 7 and 8% unemployment rate. And you say, well, that's pretty good, that's in line with the rest of the nation. But what is absent from that number is we have a 25% non-participatory workforce rate. So that means that 25% of our population is able to go to work, willing to go to work, but they have dropped from the unemployment rolls because they're no longer counted. And industry looks for three things. They look for one, if they're a highly consumptive type water, and most of them are, and most of them, particularly west of Dallas, are now doing their due diligence, because primarily our targets will be industry in California, because they're looking at their water shortages, and water shortages are a scarcity across the globe, not just in the United States, but national manufacturers and industrialists are looking for now site locations. So we have to be open and welcoming to business. And this is something that I've had a personal experience with, is that Shreveport has not always been the most business friendly. So the three things that we have is we have a plethora of water resources. I have presented on a comprehensive water resources management plan that was found very receptive, and we have to realize what a gem and jewel we have in our water resources here. We have tremendous infrastructure, which a lot of people don't truly understand. But when I brought in for our Economic Development Summit 2 of the greatest economic development experts across the United States, they said, wow, your infrastructure is so incredible here. And I said, people from Shreveport aren't going to say that. And they said, well, because we think of water, sewer, streets, potholes, and so forth as our infrastructure. But our transportation network here, and once I'm elected mayor with the I-49 through the city and 3132 is a direct line to the port, we have a significant distribution capacity here to reach what distribution channels are looking for. And we have some trucking people here that can hopefully back me up on that statement. And then, of course, the third is the human resource. It's very expensive. CSC, which is Computer Sciences Corporation, just announced in Bossier, it was a good win for Bossier, for 800 new high-tech jobs, but we don't have the technology infrastructure here and the human resource capacity to support that. So it's going to be very expensive for them to site those jobs locally because they can't source from the local human resource pool to be able to do that. So the first prong of that is going after industry and manufacturing to fill that void that was left after General Motors and AT&T that's never been aggressively pursued. And then the second one is a little bit more complicated, and it's called economic gardening. It's more complicated to explain, but it's actually easier to implement. And what that does is you take your second stage businesses, which are businesses that have already have a revenue stream and they know what their best customer is. Then what government does is you, through complete transparency, you offer your data, your demographic data, to these businesses to help them expand and grow. So what you become basically is their GIS or marketing department that all the Targets, the Amazons, the Starbucks, UPS, and so forth have. You know, they've got these huge departments that manage this for them. But in economic gardening, when government provides this as an economic development tool for their second stage businesses in town, it shows that, the data shows that you get significant return on investment up in the 60 times ROI for this type service. And what's the beautiful part of it is that if we provide tax incentives, which, you know, we do, the state of Louisiana is very, very good about doing that, you can provide all the tax incentives that you want to attract industry. But what happens when those tax incentives evaporate? Where does that industry go? They're out of there. But your mom and pop local businesses, they're here to stay. They take less of an investment to get more of a value in return. And that's basically the economic principle of economic gardening. It looks at what's called a primary job. Does anyone know, do we have any economists in here that know what a primary job is? Okay, well, a primary job is one that your entire salary and benefits of that one employee, whether you have 100 or 2, is paid for by outside investment of your geographic boundaries. So what you try to do through economic gardening is increase your geographic investment outside the city so that then that employee then spends their earnings inside your insular economy, right? So you buy locally. So what it does is that as many primary jobs as you have allows your GNP to improve. And one of our biggest problems in Shreveport is we are the fastest shrinking economy. We're 279th out of 280 metropolitan areas. And so economic gardening is just a significant way to increase those numbers rapidly with an immediate investment in your small business community. And I think what we're going to have to do is just have this forum again, the workshops again. Jack Dangerman, he's on the Forbes list of all the billionaires in the world, but other than that, he's one of my mentors, and he's just brilliant. He has significantly changed many, many countries in Africa by his philosophy and policies, and of course his software and methodologies. And he was not able to come to town the day that we did the workshops, but he created a 15-minute TED-style video of a sustainable economy, and it was such a gift to Shreveport. And I hope that if we were to do the forum again, that we'd have hundreds and hundreds of people show up to listen to this true innovator, because it truly was a gift from him, you know, to the citizens of the city of Shreveport. And so if we offered that again, would you show up? Yes. Would? Yes? Okay, good. I think we'll do it.
I have a question. Why did he leave?
Well, that's a really political question. You know, you hear all the rumors, and you hear, I think it was Vitter who did not support the bailout, and so then you get, you know, the backslap of the politics of them pulling out. You hear the rumors of, you know, what happened with the AFL-CIO, and, you know, there's numerous rumors of why GM pulled out, and I don't know that I would be the perfect expert to answer why, but I would say that it is critical that we put that workforce back in place that we lost. And for the time that GM has been gone, has been too long for us not to aggressively market to another industry or manufacturer.
How would you prevent it if something like that came up during your
Well, you know, diversity, diversity, diversity. Okay, one of the things one of my prior opponents used to say is Shreveport's the next Detroit. Well, I don't believe that. We have too many resources to be the next Detroit, and we're not dependent upon one industry. I'm a geologist. I've learned my lesson. I started in oil and gas, I went to environmental, and I ended in infrastructure and GIS mapping. So you have to diversify in your economy. I mean, you just have to protect yourself. Detroit was fully dependent upon the automobile industry, and everything failed. Their rubber plants failed, their tire manufacturing failed, their batteries failed, because everything was contingent upon the automotive industry. The automotive industry did not keep up globally. And that's one big difference that I think that we've not really talked about, and that is our technology infrastructure. For us to be able to recruit high-tech jobs, we not only need the human resource of the technology infrastructure, but we need the infrastructure. We need high-speed optic internet here. We need internet that businesses can rely on, that when it rains, oops, we don't have internet service. So there's a lot of moving into the 21st century, which, by the way, has already happened, that Shreveport's going to have to catch up on. So for my economic development plan, there is a big emphasis initially on going after manufacturing and industry, because we can support those elements of the economy immediately, and I think it's most important for our development.
Well,
Oh.
when I first went in, I saw all these major companies pulling out, going to Charlottesville.
Right.
I made my good time. A lot of it, you know, was going. We never kept it. We didn't offer them in cities like Parvenza, what they got out there, they brought a big company out there.
Mhm.
What do you do?
In Bartlesville, Oklahoma, I used to swim for Phillips 66. Do you remember that swim team they used to have? It was a traveling swim team. One of the things that happened is I wrote my thesis on the Haynesville Shale in 1983. I was published in Gulf Coast Geologic Society in 1984. And I worked for R.B. Sullivan at Sun Exploration. Do you remember R.B.? R.B. Sullivan at Sun Exploration.
Yes.
So unfortunately what happened, and it's kind of a sad thing if you're a geologist and like me and you love being in the field, is that as technology improved, geologists no longer have to be on the oil site anymore. Everything's done remotely. And if Shreveport could not provide the technology infrastructure to be able to send data from the wellhead to the geologist office, that's going to be where they sit. And so a lot of my friends, I mean, you know, like all the offshore platforms, I mean, you know, they have satellite internet, and their geologists aren't anywhere near in the Gulf. All the geologists now that are running all the drilling programs, and most of the reservoir engineers actually sit inside an office and run the rig remotely. So you do still have the shell cake shaker, and you know, you still get your cuttings, but all of that is run remotely. So I was actually hired I was living in Colorado, and Canna is who I actually sold my thesis to and all of my maps and isopacks. They had the capacity to, Chesapeake came to me first, but at the same time, and Canna was one of my customers in Denver, and they gave me a better offer, so I took the better offer. The problem was I was hired about 10 years ago by Centenary College to see because that's where I graduated from with Dr. Nolan Shaw, of how could we capitalize some on the Haynesville Shale in Shreveport. And they paid me well, but they didn't take my recommendations. And one of those was you would require your extractors as they were coming in to be part of your community. And I think that's something that Shreveport could have done a lot better. And then also, at the time, if you guys remember Aubrey with Chesapeake, he had a really big ego. Do you know Aubrey, Holly?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, this is a man with a really big ego.
Clinton.
Pardon me?
Auburn McClendon?
Yes. And so, but if at the time, because Chesapeake, if you remember, did have office space downtown, and they were a community player. And I took that on as that was a very, very good thing for them to do. But I would have liked to have seen the city market some more of the CNG capabilities that he was trying to do. So, you know, you could have gone all CNG with your bus fleet, you know, whatever, any type of your spar fleet or any of your fleet services could have gone more CNG, and you could have worked that into some type of marketing best practices agreement to be able to work with them.
And colleges could have
Yeah.
done like that.
Right,
Because colleges didn't support, and the
right.
old man Hunt, who was a friend of mine a long time ago, that couple of guys, he supported Louisiana Tech, with technical college. Louisiana Tech used to have an order to teach a centenary and biology and stuff. That's the only way you bring people back. You have to
Right.
train.
I agree 100%, and maybe they could have paid you a lot less to say that and not take your advice. But they wanted the med school. At the time, Centenary had 100% acceptance rate into the med school. The biology department took the scanning electron microscope that I used away from the geology department. They had no interest in, sharing those resources.
Hey, Victoria, a couple of simple questions. When did you graduate from seminary?
I graduated in May of 1983.
Really? That's when I graduated.
Yay.
So, all right. You know Kathy Snelling.
Very well.
Yeah. And
But I don't-
my daughter's going there now. So.
I don't sing as well as Kathy Smith.
Yeah.
And my hair is
I
not
sang
as,
with Kathy.
my hair is not as gray as yours, or at least we're not going to let
That's
you.
right. That's
At least
right.
we're not going to let you know it is.
That's right. But
There's
anyway,
got to be some non-transparency in
That's right.
that.
That's right. Anyway, my name's David Langston.
Hey.
My wife Tina.
Yes, hi.
My daughter's going to seminary. We believe in Shreveport. We stayed here. We didn't move away. My parents lived in Houston with Texas Eastern Gas Company. My father just passed away 2 weeks ago.
I'm sorry.
It's sad. But anyway, I got a couple questions.
Okay.
In some of the previous forums, they talked about incubators. And there was a recent news article out on TV about the lights are on, but nobody's home. And they're talking about the schools that are closed. And could we not work with Caterpillar Schools? I have a friend that tried to buy the school down there near Monjuni's. I can't remember the street it's on. Beautiful architecture.
Hamilton Terrace?
Yeah, he tried to buy that, and they turned his offer down. And so they're talking about that if it doesn't sell, they'll spend $200,000 plus to demolish it. What a terrible waste.
Right.
And he was offering them way more than $200,000. And he was going to turn it into a business incubator. It's got a auditorium for special events. It's got small plays with community theater groups, bathroom facilities, etc. Can we not do something with all these schools that are closing down, work with Caterpillar Schools to create some business incubators? That's one question. I see it such as a waste right now. So really, answer that right there. I mean, what can we do to promote and not see that waste of these schools, and maybe create? And I'm hearing you talking about this. What did you call it? Business. Yeah, economic gardening. Would that not fit in with your plan with economic gardening to utilize some of these abandoned schools? Basically?
Yeah, it's actually a little bit different. Economic gardening is targeted specifically to second stage businesses that already have a high value customer, meaning that they get it's that 80-20 principle where you get 80% of your revenue from 20% of your work. And what economic gardening does is it locates, once you have the profile on that customer, the demographics of where that customer is outside your geographic area. So you can do specific marketing to that customer to increase the investment inside your geographic area. So it's a little bit different, but I will answer the incubator issue, and it's something that we've tried to address in the city. Biomed's doing it right now. Are you familiar with their EAP program? So, and I know the CIC has tried to do it, and again, they've not been successful. It's very frustrating. I had a product that got a lot of attention at one of the conferences that Barksdale put on, but I had to sell it in Colorado Springs. I could not find an investor in Shreveport-Bossier to be able to do that. So it was very, very frustrating for me. There is, when I was talking a little bit earlier about how you have to open up investment, you have to open up Shreveport to be business friendly. It's the same thing for innovators, is that it seems that you only get to get channeled down this way, and it's their way or the highway. You know, you don't give up your IP on your product. So it's been very, very difficult, I think, for people that have been here, and they've gone away where it's made easier. So one of the things where I can have influence, or if not bullying from the bully pulpit, is to make sure that the programs that get funded out of the city are open and accessible, particularly to all of our residents, and that they're not playing that little funneling game of, you know, where the inventor or the innovative business gets so frustrated that they leave and they take their invention somewhere else. The answer to the school, was that a public-private partnership, or was it all private investment?
You talking about the previous campus?
The incubator at Hamilton Terrace.
It was private investment.
It was 100% private investment.
100% private.
Bring them on.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
We can find some buildings for them. I mean, I just think that's crazy. I mean, if I were the mayor of a city and somebody came to me and said, hey, we're going to private invest to make your city better, and we've got a business model where we know it's productive, I'm like,
I mean, did you see the news article about the lights are on and nobody's home and the school just came out? I think
Yeah,
Yeah.
yesterday,
I
last
mean, it
night.
was last night, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And they said in the article that the school board said they would have to spend over $200,000 to demolish
Yeah.
that location. He offered them way more than that, and had grand plans of you know, bringing businesses in and utilizing the facility. And what can the city do to help
Yeah.
promote that? And the other question I have is, I've heard in other locations, they will encourage like a company that's already here to relocate some of their engineering staff and other high professional jobs to come in and give them some incentive money to pay their salaries for a limited term of time. And then once they establish the jobs here, they more likely will leave.
And then was that from outside Louisiana or just outside Shreveport?
That was outside Louisiana. It was actually in Ohio, the company I worked
That's excellent, because you know, our state already has that 5% payroll rebate tax
Yeah.
incentive on
Would
that.
the city be able to increase that?
Yeah, I don't know if, you know, because one of the things that where we are right now is, you know what you know what you don't know. But we don't know what we don't know. So when we get in and we're actually able to open up all the books, we're hoping that there's a confidence level in the numbers that we've been receiving. But in 2009, there was a 25% error in the city accountant's office. So, you know, I'm just being very cautious about what I can promise when we get into office. I will say this, that comparative to other municipalities our size, our budget is about $200,000 larger than any of the other operating budgets of cities our size. So I see no reason why we cannot clean up the contracting process, clean up waste and fraud, and be able to deliver the citizens actual services that they're paying for. But on questions of specifically, will we be able to offer tax incentives? I mean, I would say I am open to investigating anything that will build our economy. But I can't make that promise that I can specifically do that now without knowing what kind of issue we're going to have when we open it up. It will be made public, though. I can guarantee that. Hey, if I'm inheriting this, everybody's going to know what I'm inheriting.
Hey, Brett Gladden, I'm a small business owner. I guess I'm relatively young, 25 years old. I graduated from Bird in 2007, Louisiana Tech in 2011. And one of the biggest things I've seen, and I guess it's been a problem long before I was even born, is that the young people, the ages between usually 18 to 35, after graduating from high school, they say, "Trooper, I'm gone," and they're gone. They come back for maybe 2 or 3 holidays in the year. What is maybe a plan, or what kind of can we propose to kind of help in that? And I actually see now that it's kind of becoming good. I know that a lot of events are going on downtown, so it's kind of reviving. But what else do you think we can do from yours?
Right. Well, one of the things, and I'll answer this in 2 parts, but the biggest thing is I am one of those people. I wrote my thesis and graduated from Centenary College in 1983 as a geologist. Guess what happened in 1986? The space shuttle blew up. I remember that. I was in the log library and I was pulling logs, and I came back to the office and they said the space shuttle blew up, and I went, no. And they said, yes. And I got in my car, turned on Kill Radio, and sure enough, the space shuttle blew up. The next Friday, same thing, I'm in the log library, and I was pulling logs. I got back to my office, and they said, the barrel dropped below $14. And I went, no. And they said, yes. I got in my car. The next Monday, our head office was in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania. That was SSM. Do you remember SSM, sir? Oh, well, anyway. And they told it, do you remember SSM? They were shallow oil. Anyway. So they called us and they said, you can come to work, tomorrow. And it was all engineers and geologists in the room. And but we don't have enough money to pay you. And they started crying, and I'll just never forget that, because they had families, and I was just fresh out of college, and I had to have enough money to have a beer on Friday, I just had no sense of what was really happening. So I was one of those people who had to leave, but more importantly, I am one of those people who have tried and tried and tried to come home. And so much so that in trying to explain what I do, it's been very difficult because a lot of people don't understand what professional services and business management services are, because we don't have a corporate culture here that it's just in your regular everyday dinner conversation. So what I will do is not only immediately aggressively market towards this manufacturing and industry. What happens is all the support jobs that manufacturing and industry bring are more corporate and professional related. And I have a special place in my heart to bring the young people and provide not only the jobs, but the amenities, because we have to be competitive with the other cities that already have the amenities. And a lot of people ask me, why were you on the dog park? Why were you on the Dog Park Alliance? Well, I was on it for selfish reasons. I was a small business owner of a technology company. I have to recruit technologists from Oregon, Washington, Colorado, wherever I'm recruiting them for a contract. And the first question, they drink, what's that, Mountain Dew, Red Bull. They make pizza at 5 o'clock in the morning, but they don't go to bars. Their whole social network is set up around a dog park. And the first question I always get is, do you have a dog park? Because that's how they socialize. They're not bar people. So I had a very selfish reason for being on the Dog Park Alliance, because for me it was an economic development issue. So what you have to do is you have to provide not only the jobs, but the amenities to make it exciting to live in the city. And that's one of the things that we'll also address in this big announcement in 2 weeks on the Ledbetter and Allendale revitalization plan, because it's very, very exciting, and I think young and old alike are going to be very on board for it.
You mentioned extractors and requiring to locate, and then, I just remember reading in the past years when Walmart became the size that it has become in the last 20 years, that I'd always read and heard that they required their main suppliers to have a corporate office in Bentonville, right there with them. And so everybody else in America does it, so we need to be a little selfish. I'll let you answer that.
Absolutely.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I'll give kudos to BHP Billington. Okay, BHP Billington doesn't have most of their extraction resources here in Shreveport, but they have committed to our community, and I think that it's the mayor's job to highlight that and show what a good community partner that they are. In concert with what you said, not only do we want to have those requirements, but through the Comprehensive Water Resources Management Plan, we will have the legal instrument. See, right now, we do have for surface water and, for fracking, it takes a lot of water and so forth. Well, the Department of Natural Resources actually has a legal instrument to be able to enforce against extraction companies that come here and they violate those rules. But unfortunately, DNR never does. So one of the more important factors of the Comprehensive Water Resources Management Plan, as long as it occurs within, City of Shreveport can't reach outside their jurisdiction, but as long as it occurs within our watershed management, we can then have a legal authority to enforce the rules. So that's extremely important in attracting business, is you do build a good relationship with those companies and say, hey, we want business to be good for you. You know, somebody asked me about education and that our education system here was so bad. And how could we attract businesses with our education system being so poor? And they said, what do you think businesses look for most? And I said, they look to make a profit. That's what businesses are in business for. They have to make a profit. And so if we show them that we are a pro-business city and we begin to build those relationships and hold up our ends of the agreements while protecting our resources, I think that's the best thing that we can do for business and industry.
I know that early on you had some health issues, and you have said that your health now is excellent. And I've heard rumors of Miss Tyler's health issues being rather dire. Is there been some requirement to put out a health statement or request that a health statement be made?
Yeah, there's not been one for me, and you know, here's the thing. After all the mudslinging, I said I will not engage in, I've heard obviously the same rumors. And you know, initially when she was not appearing, my assumption was she was tired, because I'm going to tell you guys something. I'm 54 years old and I'm tired. This is exhausting. I mean, you know, it is, you run. My mom says, Victoria, you got to eat, you're losing too much weight. I ran into Shelley Regal at SPAR on the way out of the budget meeting, literally in these heels, running out of City Hall so I could be here hopefully by 5:30. And I said, I've got a great plan for SPAR to get Shreveport well, run for mayor. I mean, you're running constantly. So, you know, I don't know if there's any truth to the rumors. I have not been asked, you know, I've been open, you know, when I've been asked. I'm cancer-free, thank you, God. I'm so blessed to have had the medical care that I had. You know, we've talked about the issues of when I went through my divorce 14 years ago. Oh, this actually brings up a good point of, you know, my ex-husband and I are now speaking and doing what's in the best interest of our children. And, you know, I was able to handle all of those issues. So as far as it relates to me, I will say that I am in excellent health. I am in excellent physical health. I am in excellent mental health. And I am energized by this process. It's still fun for me. I mean, I think, I don't want to be too light on that. I know there is a hard job ahead. Shreveport has many challenges. And I have seen it on my webpage. I mean, the people dialoguing about, well, I want a world-class kayaking park. And then I've got, you know, the people that are working with the homeless, you know, saying, hey, we just need meals for people. So we have significant challenges in this city. So I don't want to laugh that off, but I will say that at least for me, I can speak on behalf of me, I am loving this process. I am loving engaging with the public every day. And thank goodness I live alone, because I must probably snore like a dinosaur at night. I think